Welcome, friends. Tonight it is Valentine's Day, and what better way to tell my family I love them than to make them a tater tot hot dish. That's right. I have not yet shared this recipe as I realized the other day, so I'm correcting that wrong immediately, so stay tuned for that. Here in Minnesota, and generally just in the Midwest, we tend to bring tater tot hot dish to people to tell them that we love them, that we're thinking about them, that we want to help them out, i.e. you're sick, you just had a baby, the potluck you have to bring a hot dish for, the funeral, whatever it might be. No matter what happens, you're getting a tater tot hot dish. So stay tuned, I'm going to show you exactly how we make this. Now, of course, for tater tot hot dish, you're going to need a pound of usually ground beef, but to be honest, you could absolutely use a meat substitute for that. We're going to get a can of cream of something soup. This is a must. You cannot skimp on this step. It needs to come from a can, it needs to be congealed, and it needs to have cream of in the title. Now, you can make cream of onion, cream of celery. I'm choosing to do cream of mushroom, as I would say that is the most traditional option. You need your bag of tater tots, or if you're cheap, the potato puffs, because, we can't call them tater tots if we don't own that trademark. And then I also like to add a packet of soup mix. Now, I only have onion soup mix, but most of the time I get the real brand and the beefy onion soup mix. So, you use what you have, but that would be my recommendation if you don't already have your regular old onion soup mix. All right, let's get started. First thing, preheat your oven and dump your tater tots onto a baking sheet. I recommend lining it with parchment because I don't know about you, but I just hate doing dishes. Spread them out in a nice even layer. Now, this is where my hot dish differs from all the other people who put it in a casserole dish. I don't put my tater tots on top of my filling or my ground beef cream of mushroom soup mixture, because that, my friends, is how you get soggy tater tot hot dish, and nobody wants soggy tots, okay? Nobody. So we're going to crisp them up on the baking sheet because we're not heathens, okay? Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and bake those as instructed on the back of the bag. Now, while I am doing that, we're going to scooch down here. Preheated skillet. We are going to dump in the ground beef that I got from Good Chop. So the skillet is already hot, and we're going to go ahead and dump that right in there. We are going to add a pinch of pepper to the top of the ground beef to give some flavor. And then we're also going to add in half of an onion, rather finely chopped, I would say, to our skillet. Now, of course, if you do not have an onion at home, onion powder does work too. Other things you need to do right about now is get a cup of frozen vegetables. So I've done about half frozen corn and half of the petite peas. These are from Trader Joe's. I absolutely love their petite ones. I feel like they have just a much crisper texture to them, and they don't tend to get mushy. So I highly recommend those if you haven't tried them. And, maybe you're not quite so fond of peas. That's a good alternative. So these are just going to sit out and defrost on the nice warm cooktop. And then the last thing that we're going to do, super duper non-traditional here, is we're going to actually open up our packet of onion soup mix or beef onion soup mix, add it to the bowl, and we're going to get hot tap water, about as hot as it can possibly go from the tap, just to help rehydrate the onions that are in here and provide liquid. Now, I eyeball this step. I know you guys love it when I do that, but I just put approximately, let's say, half a cup of hot tap water in there, stirred up to get any lumps and clumps out, and I'm just going to set this aside while I brown my ground beef. Voila, super duper fancy here. Be sure you're taking notes. So we're going to go ahead and use my mixing pot to break up the ground beef. Now, if you wanted to, you could use ground turkey too, or, venison, or, I don't know, bison, whatever you want. Get creative, right? And then be sure to break up any onions that are kind of clumped together. We're just going to soften the onions and brown the ground beef. Now, if you wanted to, you could absolutely throw in some minced garlic. And instead of the peas and corn, if you just have like a bag of mixed veggies, dump that in, okay? We're just gonna let this keep browning away until it's ready. Once your ground beef is browned nicely and your onions have softened up, we are going to add in our onion soup. Scrape all those bits of onion out of the bowl. Give that a quick little stir. And then, of course, you want to grab a spatula out so that you can scoop every last bit of this cream of mushroom soup out of here. And of course recycle the can. Add in your frozen veggies to continue thawing in the pan. And lastly, to thin out your casserole, or your hot dish I should say, is you can add 1 can of beef consomme to that. Or if you don't have that on hand, beef broth, veggie stock, any of those things will work. And if desperate times call for desperate measures, you can also just add some water into your cream of mushroom soup can and dump that in too. Now we're just going to let this simmer away on the stove until the veggies are thawed completely and warmed, and it will all come together and be delicious. At this point, you can also test it for seasonings and add some garlic powder, which I am going to do right now. Super exact measurements here. Several shakes should do it. Any more black pepper and salt, which I would totally recommend seasoned salt for this. I just tried a small spoonful and I don't think it needs any salt at all. However, I'm going to add 1 more pinch of pepper, and I almost forgot to add a little Worcestershire sauce. So we're going to do a couple of splashes. 1, 2. Just flipping my tater tots according to the package directions, then I'm going to put them back in for an additional 5 to 7 minutes. Trying not to rip my parchment paper like I just did. Haha. I'm going to use a little bit of seasoned salt on these tater tots. Alright, let's dish up some dinner. So, of course, you need a scoop of the filling, so to speak. And then it's very important to get the even distribution of tot to filling ratio. Very, very important. So go ahead and scoop some tater tots. Don't be stingy. Bon appetit, friends.